But like, how would you then like explain like the miracles of the Prophet? Like, how could the
What
Prophet
miracles? The
prophesy?
Quran says he did no miracles. I don't know what you're talking about.
Where? Because I mean, he does miracles
Oh, are you sure you want me to show you all the verses where it says he did no miracles?
like the splitting of the moon. for
What
example.
splitting of the moon? Can you show me where in chapter 54, verse 1 says that this was an event that took place at the time of Muhammad, what he pointed at and split it in two?
I mean, that's what the Quran says, though.
No, the
So-
Quran didn't say he did it, dude. I just said 54, verse 1. I even told you the
Oh,
ayah.
the hadith.
Yeah, that's right. The hadiths that come later that try to make Muhammad more than he was, to make him more comparable to the true prophets. Because your Quran keeps saying he has no miracles or signs. Here it is. Let's read. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. 2:118. Look how many times they're going to ask your prophet, why are no signs given to him? Why doesn't he come with no signs? Look, I'm going to read it for you, okay? And they that know not say, why does God not speak to us? Why does a sign not come to us? So spoke those before them as these men say, their hearts are much alike. Yet we have made clear the signs unto a people who are sure. 2:118. 2:145. Yet if thou shouldst bring to those that have been given the book every sign, they will not follow thy direction. You see, so it's saying, if you were to bring them every sign, they still won't follow your direction. Thou art not a follower of their direction, neither are they followers of one another's direction. If thou followest their caprices after knowledge that has come to thee, then thou wilt surely be among the evildoers. Okay, chapter 6, verse 37. They have sworn by God the most earnest oaths. If a sign comes to them, they will believe in it. Just give us one sign, Mom, we'll believe. Say, signs are only with God. What will make you realize that when it comes, they will not believe? So you see the excuse? Well, you're not going to believe anyway, so no use of giving you a sign. What? Okay, now chapter 10, verse 20. We're not done yet. They say, why has a sign not been sent down upon him from his Lord? So they're asking Muhammad, how come your Lord hasn't given you a miracle? Say, the unseen belongs only to God. Well, we know that. We're not talking about God. We know God knows everything. He has the power to send signs. Why didn't he give you a sign? No answer. Then watch and wait. I shall be with you watching and wait. Now, 13:7. The unbelievers say, why has a sign not been sent down upon him from his Lord? Thou art only a warner. You only warn people. You're not sent with signs. I mean, I can go on and on, but hold on. Let me give you a couple more. Even Muhammad Asad, in his commentary on these verses, look what he says here, 1759. Look, nothing prevented us, nothing stopped us from sending the signs. Nothing prevented us from sending you with miracles. But the ancients cried lies to them, meaning, but the people before you, whenever a prophet did a miracle, say, lie, sorcery. That's Muhammad's excuse. And we brought Thamud, the she camel, visible, but they did hear her wrong. And we do not send the signs except to frighten. Okay, now look what a Muslim, a Jewish convert to Islam who wrote the message of the Quran says in his commentary. Look, this highly elliptic sentence has a fundamental bearing on the purport of the Quran as a whole. In many places, the Quran stresses the fact that the Prophet Muhammad, despite his being the last and greatest of God's apostles, was not empowered to perform miracles, similar to those with which the earlier prophets are said to have reinforced their verbal messages. His only miracle was and is the Quran itself. Now, I can give you a lot more, but I'm going to give you a few more. Okay. Chapter 28:48. Yet when the truth came to them from ourselves, they said, why has he not been given the like of that Moses was given? All right, wait. You say you're a prophet like Jesus and Moses? Well, Moses came with miracles. Why aren't you given miracles like Moses was given? But they did not disbelieve also in what Moses was given after time. But hold on. When Moses came with miracles, they still disbelieved in him. So what's the point of me showing you miracles? What a pathetic excuse, dude. Yeah. Don't you think?
I don't know. I mean, no.
Okay, so the Quran says your prophet never brought miracles. And 54:1 doesn't say this is a miracle done by Muhammad. It just says, here, let me show it to you. Here's what you're referring to. Chapter 54, verses 1 to 2. The hour has drawn nigh, the moon is split. Yet if they see a sign, they turn away and they say, a continuous sorcery. So you're thinking this is when Muhammad split the moon, but you're getting it from Bukhari, right?
Yeah.
But these sources are in over 100 to 200 years after Muhammad supposedly lived. How do you know this Quran is referring to that event?
But like this thing, like if it was 200 years later, then how would people like Imam Abu Hanifa, people like this, the early Imams, how would they like reference to these hadiths if they were so much later?
No, I said over 100 to 200 years later. Over 100 to 200 years later. The first record of the moon split would come in the Sirah, but even the Sirah that you have was edited by Ibn Hisham. So how do you know that this hadith is based on chapter 54, verse 1? Because
Well,
here, I'm going to tell you, Muhammad Assad says, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with Muhammad here. This is Muhammad Assad. Now, you can say he's wrong, but this is the best you have, is a verse in the Quran that's vague, that you then have to connect with hadiths that say, when they asked for a sign, Muhammad pointed at the moon, some traditions saying it split in half. But then, if it split in half, and this would have been a phenomenon that would have been seen across Arabia and the Eastern Hemisphere, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any sources from the 7th century that talks about the moon being split in the 7th century?
The Indian king, yeah.
No, that's not it. Don't repeat Uthman ibn Ketchaboy, who got destroyed by Trent Horn, because that document that you are referencing is written centuries later. Don't give me the King of India, which is based on sources that come centuries later, or supposedly that led to the conversion of the Indian king to Islam, right?
Yeah.
And based on what Muslims tell you a supposed Indian king wrote, even though that source comes centuries after the fact. Come on, dude, wake up. Do you have any historical textual evidence from the 7th century from non-Muslim sources reporting the phenomenon of the moon being split?
But isn't the Indian king thing in the I'm pretty sure like Sheikh
What is
Uthman
the date
contacted
of the document, brother?
what I've understood is that it's in the lifetime of the Prophet.
No, the source that you claim is about what the Indian king wrote at the time of Muhammad is not 7th century. You have no sources from the 7th century. What are you not getting?
What is the oldest then? What is the oldest copy we have?
Nothing from the 7th century, nothing from the 8th century. What source can you point to that can be verified as coming from the 7th century when you don't even have evidence that Muhammad even existed in the 7th century to show that the moon split and that the world was aware of it? Now, as you think about it, let me read what Muhammad Assad says about 54 verse 1. You're listening?
Yeah.
You can say, well, I don't care what he says. That's fine, but I don't care for what you're claiming to be a miracle when the proof of it is so flimsy and weak. And this is going to convince me Muhammad is a prophet? Come on. You're going to have to give me solid evidence for miracles, not something flimsy that even your own Muslim scholars debate. Here, Al-Razi points out the first verse of this surah appears almost like a continuation of the last verses of the preceding, especially chapter 53, verse 57. That last hour, which is so near, draws ever nearer. And so we may assume that both were revealed at approximately the same time, i.e. towards the end of the early part, perhaps the 4th year of Muhammad's prophethood. Most of the commentators see in this verse a reference to a phenomenon said to have been witnessed by several of the prophet's contemporaries. This is what you're referring to. As described in a number of reports going back to some companions, the moon appeared one night as if split into 2 distinct parts. While there is no reason to doubt the subject veracity of these reports. You know what subjective veracity means?
I don't know what veracity means, but I know what subjective means.
Veracity means that people thought they saw something split, so they weren't lying, but that's subjective because it's not something that can be verified. So you may see something in your mind and you're convinced you're seeing it. Everyone else is looking at you like you're crazy. So subjective veracity means it's true to you because you see it in your mind, but it's not true to someone else because we don't see it. But be that as it may, while there is no reason to doubt the subjective veracity of these reports, it is possible that what actually happened was an unusual kind of partial lunar eclipse. It's not even a miracle. It's just a lunar eclipse, which produced an unequally unusual optical illusion. So it was perhaps an eclipse that deluded these superstitious folk that the moon split. Wow, Muhammad Assad, you're really destroying the Quran. But whatever the nature of that phenomenon, it is practically certain that the above Quran verse, 54:1, does not refer to it, but rather to a future event. Hear what I just said?
Yeah.
Okay, so Muhammad Assad says, yeah, the hadith aside, maybe a lunar eclipse took place and the people being superstitious thought it split, but the Quran is not referring to that event. It's referring to a phenomenon that will happen at the end, at the last hour, namely to what will happen when the last hour approaches. The Quran frequently employs the past tense to denote the future. And that's true. That's even true of the Bible. Future events are spoken of as already having occurred in the past to show that they'll certainly come to pass. And particularly so in passages which speak of the coming of the last hour and the resurrection day. This use of the past tense is meant to stress the certainty of the happening to which the verb relates. Thus, Raghib regards it as fully justifiable to interpret the phrase in Shaqqal Qamar, the moon is split asunder, as bearing on the cosmic cataclysm, the end of the world as we know it, that will occur before the coming resurrection day. See article Shaq and Mufraddat. Sorry. As mentioned by Zamakhshari, this interpretation has the support of some of the earlier commentators. It is, to my mind, particularly convincing in view of the juxtaposition in the above Quran verse of the moon splitting asunder and the approach of the last hour, because it's the context, not about the last hour. In this connection, we must bear in mind the fact that none of the Quranic allusions to the nearness of the last hour and the day of resurrection is based on the human concept of time. So if this is your best miracle, well, your best miracle doesn't even convince Muslim scholars. So you're parroting what these Muslim da'is like Uthman Ketchup Boy, you keep parroting these guys, but you don't go and see the responses to their lies.